Welcome to ESPN's College Football Primetime, presented by K Jewelers. And tonight, the 42nd meeting all-time between Florida and Vanderbilt, a special opportunity for both sides with a potential victory. Florida's offense led by the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, Tim Tebow of the Gators, arguably the most versatile offensive weapon in college football. One of his favorite targets, Percy Harvin, the leading receiver for the Gators, and maybe the fastest man in all of college football. Those two key cogs have the Gators here in the SEC's Eastern Division. Their only stumble, a loss 5 games ago against Mississippi. Meanwhile, Vanderbilt comes in at 3-2 in conference play. Hello, everybody. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davie. Thanks for coming aboard. A win for Florida tonight. They would clinch an SEC East Division title for the first time, Bob, since 2006. The same year they won the national title. Where do they fit now in the national title picture?
You know, Mark, I was on a radio show this week, and they asked me, is Florida the best one-loss team in the country? Well, after watching tape on them all week, I think a better question is Florida the best team, period, in the country? I'll make this statement, and it's not too strong right now. They are the hottest team in college football. The last 4 weeks, they've outscored their opponents an average of 50-10. And you remember back after the Ole Miss game, because I know you love these kind of statements, Tim Tebow said, we will not lose again. So far, he's backed that up now. Yeah, their leadership has been much stronger than a year ago. Meanwhile, on the other side of the field, Vanderbilt comes in 3-2 in conference play. They're trying to snap a long 17-game losing streak. They got a lot to play for tonight. Well, you know, a year ago at this time, Vanderbilt was 5-3, just like they are right now. They lost their last 4 games, missed out on a bowl game. You and I talked to their players and coaches yesterday. You can tell it's personal for them to finish strong. I think this is going to be a highly motivated Vanderbilt team tonight. I think they're going to play their best football game of the year tonight against the Gators. Yeah, they lost 17 straight against Florida, looking for their first winning season since 1982. It's been a long time between drinks of water for the Commodores. The Gators standing in their way tonight.
Tebow throwing end zone. Touchdown. Has a man. Jump ball. Touchdown.
Welcome, everyone, back to Nashville under the lights here at Vanderbilt Stadium. The Commodores set to take on number 5 Florida. This has been already a very compelling and intriguing day in college football with the loss of Penn State today. Here's a look at the ESPNU All-State standings. And, Bob, we had a chance to see some of the reaction down on the field by the Gators coaching staff, and they're a little bit more optimistic. And, Boyd, you'd have to say, by that Penn State-Iowa result. Well, the assistant coaches were. But you notice Urban Meyer didn't even blink when Penn State lost that game to Iowa today at the end. And the bottom line, a lot at stake for Florida. I mean, it's still going to come down probably to that Alabama game in the Southeastern Conference Championship. But, hey, Vanderbilt first. It was interesting during our conference calls earlier this week with Urban Meyer when I brought up the point about looking big picture of the national championship. His reaction was, hey, Mark, I'm just trying to worry about getting third down conversions against Vanderbilt in a couple of days. Well, what he said we're not smart enough around here to look at the big picture. But you know they're plenty smart enough. They just chose not to look at the big picture. Mentioned earlier, the Gators have defeated the Commodores 17 consecutive times. Vanderbilt has won the toss. They have elected to receive the opening kick. Back deep, it'll be DJ Moore and Sean Walker. Bobby Johnson in his 7th season as head coach at Vanderbilt. We talked about the mood of the team, and he said it was fine. It was as good as it can be coming off a very disconcerting and disheartening loss a couple of weeks ago against Duke, a game in which they had every opportunity to win late in the game. Yeah, and I think there's some pressure on Vanderbilt. I mean, Vanderbilt starts out 5-0. Great story. They beat Auburn in a nationally televised game. They've lost 3 straight. Last year they slid and lost their last 4. So there's some pressure on Vanderbilt to finish strong. Sturgis kicks off. That's DJ Moore across the 20. and falls forward to the 27-yard line for the Commodores, and that's where Mackenzie Adams, making his third start at quarterback, will take the reins of this offense for Vanderbilt. He's completing 51% of his passes so far.
Yeah, tailback Jared Hawkins, tough physical runner. Sean Walker, the wide receiver, really the deep threat, the fastest guy on the football team, had a 79-yard touchdown catch against Duke.
First down and 10 from the 28-yard line for Vanderbilt. You see that very unorthodox motion by Mackenzie Adams. It's incomplete, intended for Jamie Graham. Second down and 10 coming up. You look at the starting lineups for Vanderbilt across the top of your screen. Sean Walker, the team's leading receiver, number 7. Their second leading receiver is Brandon Barden, the tight end, number 87.
And this Vanderbilt offense has been struggling. I mean, they come in 117th in the nation in total offense.
Chris Nixon was the starting quarterback up until 3 games ago. Since that time, Mackenzie Adams took over. Flag down on the field. With a little motion up front on that offensive line. Eric Hensley, number 66, the right guard for the Commodores.
Ball start, number 66, offense. 5-yard penalty, still second down.
You mentioned Mackenzie Adams, the quarterback. You know, it was interesting all week talking to Urban Meyer and the Florida coaches. They really thought Chris Nixon, number 3, would get the start tonight. And they were really concerned about Chris Nixon and his mobility. But Mackenzie Adams is a guy that can run pretty good as well.
A former state high school high hurdle champ in 110 meters. Deceiving speed. Second down and 15 after the penalty. That's Jared Hawkins cutting it back against the grain. Got about 3 on the line. Anderson making the stop for the Gators.
See the Florida defense at the top of the screen there. This defense has played outstanding this year. 16th in the nation in total defense. Scoring defense, 5th. They only give up 11 points a game. They've only given up 23 points all year in the first half, which is an unbelievable statistic.
Charlie Strong, the team's defensive coordinator, doing an outstanding job for the Gators once again this year. Third down and long coming up for the Commodores. Pass complete at the 36-yard line. It's caught by Jamie Graham, a 2-scored star for the Commodores. Also started on the team's basketball squad, but it's short of the first down. Fourth down coming up. Brandon Spikes making the stop for the Gators.
There you look at how Florida has just jumped out on opponents in the first half. A big part of it, special teams. And you watch right here on this punt return, you have Brandon James back as the returner, but you also have a punt block team, Mark, that's blocked 3 punts on the year, and they really feel like they can block one tonight against Vanderbilt.
Brett Upson, Bob, standing on his own 22-yard line. That might have been tipped at the line of scrimmage. He tried that squib rugby kick, and he went right into a little bit of heat. And Florida's going to have very good starting field position right around the 40-yard line. A 26-yard punt by Brett Upson.
Yeah, Carlos Dunlap is going to get the block on this. And Urban Meyer felt like against the rugby kick, they were going to check to a punt block against that and let Carlos Dunlap get great penetration right there. Just what he said. They got the first punt block of the game.
I saw Dunlap shaking his hand. Jeff Demps in the backfield on first down and 10. You are looking at perhaps the fastest team in America right now on offense. Tebow rolls out, eluding pressure, and steps out of bounds right near the line of scrimmage. Pushed out of bounds by Greg Billinger. Take a look at the impact players. Tim Tebow completing 64% of his passes last week, accounted for 5 touchdowns in that emotional win over Georgia.
Well, Percy Harvin, kind of a combination wide receiver, running back, almost 200 pounds, really fast. And then Brandon Spikes, who really set the tempo last week for this Florida team against Georgia with a big hit from his linebacker position.
Second down coming up for Florida. Knows the ball right across the 40. Little empty formation for Tebow. Complete over the middle. And out near midfield, it's Percy Harvin. Bob, they talk about, as we look at the offense, the goal is trying to get Harvin at least 10 touches. At least that's what Urban Meyer would like to see anyway.
Yeah, and there's a fine line. I mean, you want to get him his touches without getting out of rhythm on offense and forcing it too much. So Dan Mullen, the offensive coordinator, that's always a fine line you run right there.
First down and 10 at midfield. Tebow hands it off to Jeff Demps, the 5'8 freshman, 176 pounds, a little speedster running in between the tackles that time. I talked about this team perhaps being the fastest team in America. Jeff Demps at the USA Outdoor Track and Field Championships ran a 10.01 in the 100 meters. Folks, he was smoking. I saw it live and in color.
Yeah, he's had 5 runs over 30 yards. Last year's a team, Mark, they only had 3 runs over 30 all year.
Second down and 7. Tebow, little option, keeps it himself, puts his hat down and makes it down to the 43-yard line. Picked up 4 on the play. Got a nice block from Percy Harvin, his receiver, as we take a look at the Commodore defense.
And this Vanderbilt defense, and you heard me say this yesterday after watching tape, they are an extremely well-coached defensive football team. They're not going to play any man-to-man coverage. They're not going to give up many big plays. You're going to have to earn everything you get against this defense.
Well, Chris Marv, number 13, one of the guys to watch in the middle, a redshirt freshman, one of the leaders at linebacker. Chris Rainey now in motion to the bottom of your screen. Tebow complete over the middle. Once again, that's Percy Harvin for the Gator first down at the 31-yard line. Harvin picks up 12 on the play. He had a big game last year against Vanderbilt, becoming the first Gator to rush for 100 yards and get over 100 yards receiving.
Again, the empty formation. Tim Tebow with a great window right there to throw the football through. Percy Harvin comes up with a big third down conversion. You know, Percy Harvin's right at 200 pounds, and he plays physical. That's the thing that's so impressive about him.
At that speed, too. Under 11 minutes to go. Florida's opening drive. Emmanuel Moody in the backfield. He gets his first touch of the game, and Moody gets about 3 on the play. He's returning from an injury. Returned last week against Georgia after missing 3 games with an ankle injury. A transfer from USC. Just one of many talented running backs they have at Florida.
And these coaches are anxious to see Emmanuel Moody tonight. They think he's really good. It's taken him a while to adjust to this scheme. You know, he's a little bit more comfortable in the I formation, taking handoffs from the quarterback who's under center, but he's making the adjustment to this spread.
Percy Harvin now the back beside Tebow. This Gator team gives you so many different looks with their personnel. It's Harvin. Got a nice crease along the right side, and Percy Harvin gets another first down inside the 20 at the 18-yard line. Lewis Murphy with a nice block. Harvin gets 10. They get good chunks of real estate at a time.
Urban Meyer said this week, Percy Harvin, the best first step in college football, which means he's instantly accelerates. It doesn't take him long to get going.
One of the numbers on their personnel, they had, I think it was over 10 players that ran 4.4 or better in the 40-yard dash. First and 10 from the 18. This is Demps straight ahead. Boy, little guy's got to have a little courage, more than a little courage, Bob, running between the tackles like that at just 5'8". He picked up 7 yards, and with Florida inside the 20, might want to mention that this is the best red zone offense in the nation.
That's an amazing statistic. I think it's 34 out of 35 times they've scored. The one time they didn't, they took a knee. But you know, on the other side, Vanderbilt is number 2 in the country in red zone defense.
They scored on their last 23 trips inside it. Keyston Moore now in the backfield. Murphy in motion. Tebow on the bootleg, wide open, touchdown Gators. Murphy. And for Tebow, that's his 15th touchdown pass of the season, the 52nd of his career.
What a way to start the game. 3 and out on defense, block the punt, and then your offense just takes it right down the field against Vanderbilt.
Phillips' extra point is good. Murphy with his 4th touchdown catch of the season. And you know what? From any view, this is from the blimp, high above. From any vantage point, that's a good-looking pass.
It's wide open, however you look at it.
A look at the homeschooled Tim Tebow, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner. He schooled that Vanderbilt defense on that last series, Bob, with an array of passes and play fakes. He was 3 for 3 on that drive for a total of 33 yards.
Well, I'm going to throw it out there right now.
Go ahead.
My #1 contender,
I'm waiting.
repeat Heisman,
I'm waiting.
is Tim Tebow.
Wow.
Okay. Can I tell you why?
What about all those quarterbacks in the Big 12?
I understand that. We've had some of them. But Tim Tebow is a better quarterback on a better team than he was a year ago. And he won the Heisman a year ago.
There's more on the kickoff return for the Commodores. Let's take one more look at what was key on this last touchdown pass to Murphy.
Yeah, Murphy's going to come in motion, and then right here, it looks like 2 guys have him covered, but in reality, as we watch this unwind, they turn him loose. Vanderbilt not a man-to-man coverage team, Mark. That time they played man-to-man, and they turned him loose.
Well, the last time the Commodores were on offense, they went 3 and out on their first series. Now we get a look at Jeff Jennings in the backfield instead of Jared Hawkins. First down and 10 for Vanderbilt at their own 19-yard line. Adams, pretty elusive that time. Got out to the 19-yard line, got right back to the line of scrimmage. And get your weekly dose of NFL news and analysis on ESPN Sunday, first at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Chris Berman and the crew on Sunday NFL Countdown presented by IBM. Plus, the boys discuss the crazy AFC East. Also, a look at the top rookie running backs, Chris Johnson and Matt Forte. At 7, Chris Berman and John Saunders delivered the day's highlights and scores on SportsCenter.
You had to love Chris Berman's interview with Barack Obama. If you can change one thing in all of sports, what would it be? Playoff in college football.
I think that was the right answer. That was the right answer. Sean Walker makes the catch right across the 25-yard line. He was working against Joe Hayden, who, by the way, had that 88-yard return off an interception. Really set the tone in the 3rd quarter in that victory over Georgia. This secondary for Florida really stout this year with 14 interceptions.
Yeah, 4 returned for touchdowns, and a lot of pride in this secondary. You know, last year they got beat up all off season. They gave up 41 to Michigan, 42 to Georgia. They have come back strong this year.
On 3rd down and 3. Handoff, nowhere to go for Walker. He was met immediately by Brandon Spikes, the team's leading tackler. Makes the play that time for Florida. Loss of 7 on the play. Another 3 and out.
And Brandon Spikes, who I think in the NFL, you're going to see him right here. I think he might be a defensive end in the NFL or an outside linebacker in the 3-4. They turn him loose right there on the little wide receiver sweep to Sean Walker. But I tell you, Spikes is an impact player now.
Let's keep an eye on what happens here on this punt. The last time, Carlos Dunlap got a hand on it and partially blocked it.
Tony, they're coming after that rugby punt.
They sure are. Upson got this one away. Back at the 40-yard line. Number 25, Brandon James, returns it 3 yards off the 43-yard punt. Spikes doing a nice job on D. Back after this. Look at downtown Nashville, down on Broadway Street, the country music capital of the world. Give me a little Kenny Chesney flavor down here this weekend, Bob. And a look high above from our blimp here tonight. Florida with the ball, first down and 10 from its own 42-yard line. Percy Harvin in the backfield. Tebow completes a little receiver screen. Number 6, Deontay Thompson with the first down into Vanderbilt territory.
Let's take a look at this punt block by Florida. When Vanderbilt shifts, Florida knows that it's going to be rugby punt. See right here, they're checking right now, Florida. They're checking to get the right block. The next thing I want to show you right here is Demps, number 2, who's a running back that's gained the respect of the Florida coaches by his play on special teams. So good X and O's and good personnel in special teams.
They almost got themselves another one. Tebow keeps it himself. Tebow lunging forward, close to another first down. You know, this year they talked about not running him as much as they did in the previous season, and as a result, Bobby looks really fresh.
Yeah, you know, he had 18 carries a game last year. He's down to 11 carries a game this year, and that's why I think he's in a great position here late in the season to make a run at that Heisman Trophy. I mean, he's going to have some big-time national stages over the next few weeks. And he won it last year. It's like that thing in boxing. I mean, you better take it away from the champ. I don't see anybody out there right now that's just going to flat take it away from him.
Got to take it from the man. He picked up 9 on that last gallop. Tebow given time. Has a huge alley ahead of him and picks up the Gator first down at the 26. Myron Lewis making the stop, but not before Tebow picked up another 9 yards. And a look at his numbers through 8 games compared to a season ago.
Yeah, and here's the number. They're 7-1, and he's a better quarterback right now than he was a year ago. So the rest of the stuff doesn't really matter to me.
He left the Georgia game coming out of the locker room last week with a protective boot on. He was nursing a foot injury, but Bobby seems to be moving well so far early in this game.
Has to be probably the most unique guy in all of college football. I mean, these Florida coaches are just amazed at him and his personality.
Tebow keeps it himself again. Maybe they should let him run more. Tim Tebow serves up a little vitamin T.
Couple great blocks by Mike Pouncey and Jason Watkins, the right guard and right tackle. And then Tebow, a missed tackle right there by Greg Billinger. But that is about 240 pounds right there. I think he's climbing back in that Heisman. I know you don't want to jump in that boat with me right now, but I'm starting it right now tonight.
You're winning me over, Bob. And so is Tim Tebow with his 40th career rushing touchdown, his 9th of the season. When you look at Tim Tebow and the size of him, it's like looking in that car mirror. Objects appear closer and bigger than they really are. But Tim Tebow is the truth. Back after this. Back in Nashville, and Tim Tebow takes it all the way, Bob, showing that, you know, they don't run him as much, but maybe they can.
And this Florida offense comes at you in so many ways. I mean, they give the illusion by formation that they're wide open, but they really are an option, high execution team. You know, they've only had 6 turnovers all year, which is the lowest in the country.
Wow. Miller back deep for Vanderbilt. And this is Gaston Miller. Looking for a big play, perhaps in special teams, and he takes it out to the 23-yard line. A look high above. And aerial coverage for tonight's game is courtesy of the Outback Steakhouse Airship Bloomin' Onion 1. The Bloomin' Onion 1 airship is a fan favorite every week on ABC ESPN college football broadcast. And, Bob, I'm glad that the blimp followed us this week. I was hoping that the steak was right behind us.
There you go. How about this guy now? He told me on the phone they don't let him lift heavy weights, but he could go in the weight room and bench over 410 pounds right now.
Get in there with the big guys. Mackenzie Adams keeps it himself. Adams with a nice run. Picks up 8 on the play.
Yeah, we're going to get a hold right now. Justin Tratto, the defensive end, 94, I think, was being held on that play.
Holding, number 73, offense. 10-yard penalty from the spot of foul. Repeat, first down.
You know, Bobby Johnson's Commodore team, the 9th fewest penalties in the FBS. Just 4 a game.
That's an overrated statistic.
You think so? Yeah.
Florida's one of the most heavily penalized. There's never a correlation.
Yeah.
Very seldom is there a correlation between highest penalized and who wins the game, or lowest penalized.
Hawkins in the backfield, and he takes the handoff from Adams. He's stopped up after a gain of a couple by number 90, Lawrence Marsh. You know, you look at this Florida Gator defense, there are no seniors on the starting unit. And that really underscores how not only how talented they are, but how young they are. Brandon Spike's just a junior, but Bob, you mentioned it. He might not be around next year.
Exactly. But it's a highly motivated Florida defense after last year, because they got beat up in the offseason.
Second down and 16. Adams out of the backfield complete. This is Hawkins. Nice move by Jared Hawkins, and he got rocked at the 26-yard line. Still about 5 yards, actually 4 yards short of the first down. Spikes and Major Wright make the stop for the Gators. He picked up 9.
Watch Spikes right here. A big, powerful guy. Watch him coming in here late now. Boom. I think he's a better pass rusher than he's a good linebacker. I think he's a great pass rusher.
You talking about him at the next level?
I think so. That's why I think he'll be a 3-4 outside linebacker that they can utilize not only in coverage, but also rushing the passer.
Vanderbilt calls one of its 3 timeouts. We're going to take one right along with them and be back right after this. Welcome back to Nashville. Florida leading 14-0 here in the first quarter. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davey and Brandon Spikes. Here's the reason why he's one of our impact players. Brandon Spikes making plays against Foster, Tennessee, Moreno of Georgia, and he can run when he picks it too. Got that one against LSU. 3rd and long. Adams hit. Was it picked off? Ahmad Black, did he get it off the carpet or not? It's ruled incomplete. But good pressure from Will Hill to force the errant throw by Adams. Another 3 and out for the Commodores.
Mackenzie Adams sacked 4 times last week against Duke. You mentioned Will Hill, one of the most highly recruited players in the country, a true freshman. They said they wanted to get in the game. That play is going to be reviewed. Ahmad Black.
Let's see if that was intercepted or not.
I'm going to say Ahmad Black, maybe the biggest surprise on this Florida defense. 4 interceptions. Let's take a look again.
Oh, his hands are underneath that ball.
Did he have possession? Did he maintain possession? On that angle, his hands were under the football.
There's a better look. I'd have to give it to him based on that.
And they ruled incomplete pass on the field, correct?
Yeah, so there must be indisputable video evidence to overturn that call. Ahmad Black leads the team with 4 interceptions this year, as you mentioned.
Let's take a look here at the first angle. No question his hands are under the ball. It's just when he rolls over, did he lose possession? I don't know that that's indisputable evidence to overturn it, but it looked to me like that was a clean interception.
Taking a look at this play.
This Florida team coming out here with great energy early in this game.
Here's the call.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. First down, Florida.
So it's ruled interception, and Ahmad Black has his 5th pick of the year. That's tops on the Gator defense.
Let's see if this Vanderbilt team.
Well, the good news is that the Commodores don't have to worry about the punt being blocked, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
3:05 to go in the first quarter. Moody in the backfield beside Tim Tebow, who's passed for a touchdown and run for a touchdown already here in the first quarter. Tebow complete at the 13-yard line to Lewis Murphy. And let's check in with Wendy. All right, Wendy. First down and 10 for the Gators. That's Dempsey. And Demps brought down inside the 10-yard line at about the 8. Myron Lewis making the stop. Demps, though, picked up 5.
You take a look at Demps. Urban wasn't sure, Urban Meyer, when they recruited him, was he going to be a track guy or a football player? They really didn't know for sure, but the first day he was on campus this summer in pads, they put him in the circle drill, where they just put 2 guys one-on-one out there, man-on-man, with the whole football team surrounding him, and he impressed everybody right off the bat. Then he's done an outstanding job on special teams. So this guy's a football player who happens to be a track guy.
2nd down and 5. They got a lot of them on that team. Tebow keeps it himself. Makes a great move, and Tim Tebow scores again. He rocked Patrick Benoit and made his way into the end zone.
Yeah, Patrick Benoit had a chance out in the open field. He missed him first, and then Myron Lewis almost got run over right at the goal line.
Phillips with the extra point. Of course, the one that Phillips let get away, the one he'll always remember, is that one against Mississippi. It was a 1-point loss to the Rebels, but that's the past. This is the present. Tebow, once again, has 2 touchdowns in his last 2 runs. Gators with a lot to cheer about right now. They lead 21-0, looking for their 18th consecutive win against Vanderbilt. And Tim Tebow coming out, Bob, with a hot hand. A couple of touchdown runs. 1 touchdown pass. And Bob Davie has already marked Tim Tebow on his Heisman ballot.
Well, I talked about that little circle drill that Urban does. Tim Tebow was an early enrollee. Came in January. Graduated from high school early. The first day of spring practice, Urban put Tebow in that circle drill. And he won't let Tebow back in the circle.
He's not going to let him
I guess he just put on a show out there in front of that football team. So that was it for him.
Only have to do certain things once if you're Tim Tebow. This is Miller. Still on his feet, some determined running out to the 25-yard line with 1:38 to go in the first quarter. It has been all blue and orange, Gator style, for Urban Meyer, the 4th-year head coach of Florida.
And what's impressive about this, Vanderbilt coming off an open date. They've had 2 weeks to prepare for this football game, and Florida just coming out and just making it look easy so far.
What does Bobby Johnson do now? Jeff Jennings in the backfield. Jennings gets the carry in a gaping hole straight ahead, and a 1st down out to the 40-yard line, brought down by Major Wright, but he picked up 15 on the play. That's their longest gain on the ground tonight in their first down of the evening.
Yeah, good block by the center. Watch the center right here come off right here. Excellent block inside. Actually, it was the right guard, Eric Hensley, 66, with a nice block in there on the nose guard.
Out to the 40, 1st down and 10. Adams hands it off to Jennings again. Trying to square those shoulders and get to the edge. He's brought down at the 43 by Jermaine Cunningham, a 6'3" senior.
Sorry, Mark, it was interesting talking to the Florida coaches. Last year defensively, they had lost 9 starters off the national championship team, and they felt like they had to play guys. And the word Urban Meyer used was they were held hostage because they had to play some guys that weren't ready, weren't really deserving to start yet.
Adams on the move, and Adams brought down about 4 yards short of the 1st down by Ryan Stamper.
There's something about earning the position, and they just felt like they put some guys out there on defense really by default. That all of a sudden those same guys are a year older now.
He had a great line, Urban Meyer did, when he said that there were a lot of guys on 3rd base that didn't hit the triple.
Yeah. Well, Urban won't mind me saying he got that line off of Bill Belichick.
Oh, that
was Bill Belichick's line.
From the coaching manual?
Originally.
Oh, okay. All right. Credit Bill Belichick.
No, but he gives credit to Belichick for that line.
Okay.
I've heard him. Yeah.
3rd down and 4 coming up. Jennings beside Adams. They're going to pass. Adams almost picked off. It was in and out of the arms of Anderson. Marquis Anderson had it, and he might have had 6 had he squeezed it. Charlie Strong says it's all good. That's the end of the first 15 minutes of play. The Gators will lead you shaking your head. Welcome back to ESPN's College Football Primetime, presented by Kay Jewelers, and a look at Nashville aglow at night. 21-0 Gators leading the Commodores as we get started here in the second quarter of play. Brett Upson going to be under a little bit of duress here. Florida's been coming after him on every single punt tonight. This time no rugby style, and he gets off a high spiral all the way back to the 17-yard line. And that's where Tim Tebow, who has had a couple rushing touchdowns and 1 passing touchdown already tonight, will start the offense. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davie. Already an interesting day in college football, Bob, with Penn State losing against Iowa. What do you think the Gators are thinking right now?
Whatever they're thinking, it's the right thing, because they have jumped out here to an impressive 21-0 lead. And as I mentioned, I mean, this is a Vanderbilt team that won their first 5 games, had an open date. So I'm very impressed right now with Florida. And one thing about Urban Meyer, he is a very strong personality guy, very strong-willed. He has this football team focused right now.
When you think about what could have been that loss against Mississippi, they seem to really learn a lot from it and move forward, didn't they?
Yeah, you know, they're a lot like USC. I mean, they've had 7 blowout wins and 1 upset loss to Ole Miss. But you know what? It's how you respond after the loss. I mean, they've outscored opponents an average of 50-10 since the loss to Ole Miss. And it doesn't hurt to have a Tim Tebow step up in that locker room after that game and say, you know what? I am going to play harder than anybody in the country, and we are not going to lose again.
Well, Bob, they had an illegal formation on that last punt against Vanderbilt, so they'll do it all over again. Brett Upson stands on his own 27-yard line this time. And once again, Florida, as you mentioned and showed us on that telestrator earlier, shifting around, trying to get a little heat on it.
Well, and the thing you have to watch, Florida may choose to put the return on, and Brandon James back there is probably as good a return man as there is in the country.
And this time Upton rolls out, and they got it. They snuffed it. They squashed it back at the 25.
Now that was Carlos Dunlap again, number 8.
They have really done their video scouting.
And again, I'm telling you, this is all about coaching right here. Dunlap there, though, runs right over number 85, Jake Bradford. Watch 85. Boom.
That looked like a real low line drive kick, too.
Well, and they knew that was going to happen.
He didn't have to jump very high to get that.
That's a great reaction, because he takes personal pride in that. That's what happens when you take great players and great coaches and put them together.
Working with a short field at the 24-yard line. Percy Harvin lining up at quarterback. Can you call it a Gator Hog offense? Not really. Wild Hog, Gator Hog. You know what? Percy Harvin on the move with some fast intentions, but there's a flag down at the 13-yard line. There's that direct snap which is very much in vogue right now in the NFL and in college football.
Boy, and he had a great block downfield by Riley Cooper, number 11, the wide receiver.
Holding, number 9, offense. 10-yard penalty from the spot of foul. Replay, first down.
Watch Riley Cooper, number 11. He's down here, I believe. Just watch him as this play develops. Oh, he took him down. You know, Urban's an old wide receiver coach that used to coach those wide receivers like they were offensive linemen blocking now. I'm telling you.
Do they like that?
He used to worry me because he wore those guys out there going one-on-one all the time. But they block downfield, man.
that holding penalty against Lewis Murphy, so it makes it 1st down and 9 from about the 23-yard line. Tim Tebow back working out of the shotgun, empty formation. Tebow going to take off, and he's brought down at the 16 this time by number 17 DJ Moore, the 5'10" junior. He picked up 7 on the play.
Talked to you about Tim Tebow. They told me this week his idea of a great spring break. You know, most guys going to Panama City, the whole deal, thinking
Cancun,
sunshine.
Mexico.
Yeah, you know where he went.
Where?
Philippines.
Yeah.
Missionary work. That's his idea of a great spring break.
Been there in Croatia and Thailand with his mom and dad doing mission work. Emmanuel Moody now lining up behind Tebow. Murphy in motion. Moody takes the handoff. He's met immediately. A nice defensive play that time by number 13, Chris Marv, the middle linebacker. Stopping Moody immediately.
Marv, a redshirt freshman. Florida coaches really like him. You know, he's about 5'11", 220 pounds, had 16 tackles against Duke.
And one of the real surprises of that Vanderbilt defense. Played only 8 games, but it's been a really good surprise for Vanderbilt. 3rd down and 2 coming up for the Gators.
Yeah, and this is normally Tim Tebow territory, running the football right here. He's almost unstoppable on these 3rd down and 3s or less.
Harvin in motion. Tebow keeps it himself. And Tebow gets the 1st down just outside the 10. Got a nice block for Mike Pouncey. He picked up 5 on the play.
Yeah, you mentioned big Mike Pouncey. Marquise is the center. Mike is the guard. Watch him come around right here. Big man, boom. These are 2 first-round draft choices, these Pouncey brothers. 55 and 56. They list them both the same. 6'5", 312. They're twins. Only sophomores. They will be first-round picks now, both of them.
1st down and 10 coming up for Florida. Tebow pulls the trigger. Incomplete, intended for Harvin. It'll be 2nd down and 10 coming up. You know, Tim Tebow actually worked on changing his throwing motion a little bit earlier this season with the help of the biomechanics department at the University of Florida. Whatever he's doing is working because he's completing a high percentage of his passes this year.
They ought to inspect his body in that biomechanic center, because you stand down here, you know, we shook his hand before the game. He is slapped together now at 240 pounds.
He is a huge cat. 210. Tebow. And he wisely throws that one away on 2nd down and 10. Meant Tebow was closer to 240.
There you go.
But the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, the only player to win it as a sophomore.
And you know, they say there is not a phony bone in his body. You know, sometimes a guy like that, we're all a little cynical. We think he's too good to be true.
Because we're in the media.
Exactly. But it's just human nature to be a little cynical. There is not a phony bone in his body. And, you know, you have so many different personalities on a football team, as you know, but everybody respects this guy.
His parents, Bob and Pam, extremely proud of what he's done, not only on but off the football field. 3rd down and 10. They can get a 1st down without scoring, but they use Sky to score anyway. Touchdown, Cooper. And the beat goes on for Tim Tebow. For Cooper, meanwhile, that's his 1st touchdown catch of the season, the 7th of his career.
Yeah, that was stealing. Man-to-man coverage, something Vanderbilt doesn't play a lot of. That was just stealing as he beat Josh Allen in the corner.
A couple of multi-sport stars, football and track, and Riley Cooper plays on the Gator baseball team, a starter on the team.
Well, you can see at the bottom, it's man-to-man. I mean, he just flat lets him inside right there.
Tim Tebow pretty proud of his teammates, and Tebow's dad, Bob, proud of his son. High fives for everybody.
What's he doing with those gloves on? It's not that cold.
The beat goes on for the Gators, leading 28-0 right now. And a look at the statue of Cornelius Vanderbilt on West End Avenue down here in Nashville. And hey, with a bye week to prepare, Mike Singletary leads his San Francisco 49ers to battle and tries to right the ship against Kurt Warner, Larry Fitzgerald, and the high-powered offense of the Arizona Cardinals. Monday Night Football on ESPN at 8:30 Eastern Time. Coverage begins at 7 Eastern with Monday Night Countdown delivered by UPS. And Mike Singletary, that's a pretty unique approach of motivation, Bob, that he's taken on in the last couple of weeks.
That is unique. I'm going to get a chance to see that game out in Arizona. How about Kurt Warner, huh?
Yeah. Comeback.
Arizona Cardinals are for real now. They are for real.
Back deep at the 5. This is DJ Moore for Vanderbilt. Going east-west instead of north-south, and now turns it up. A lot of dancing, but brought down at the 21-yard line. Wendy Nick. All right, Wendy, we're going to have to keep track of one-loss teams, and the ranks of the undefeated decreasing by 1 with that loss today by Penn State. Florida, as Bob Davey mentioned at the top of the show, might be the best one-loss team in the country, maybe the best team in the country. This is Hawkins getting the first down for Vanderbilt, and he picked up 10. One more look at the All-State standings review.
One thing, I think that Florida-Alabama game in the SEC championship may be the best SEC championship game ever. And then how about the Big 12? I mean, Texas Tech, if they win tonight, open date, then goes to Oklahoma next. Oklahoma puts 66 on Texas A&M today. You know, Oklahoma and Florida may be the 2 hottest teams in the country right now.
First down and 10 for Vanderbilt. Hawkins again got about 3 on the play.
You have to wonder, don't you, with Barack Obama.
Right.
Now, I mean, that's the president of the United States, president-elect, saying if he could change one thing in all of sports,
right,
he wants a college football player. That has to carry some clout, doesn't it?
I think we can lobby some of the presidents. You know, he gets lobbied enough. He'll have to lobby some of the school presidents.
And it's not because he's worried about Harvard where he went to school, because they're not going to be in that playoff anyhow, right?
Second down and 7. Wheeler and Hawkins working out of the eye. This is Hawkins on the carry. Nothing doing that time. Jermaine Cunningham there to make the stop with a host of others.
You know, Bobby Johnson, you can see the look on his face right there. You know, all of a sudden you're 5-0. You're a feel-good story in all the country. Now you've lost 3 straight. You're getting blown out here tonight. Last year you lost your last 4 games after being 5-3. There's some pressure right now. I mean, it turns negative no matter where you are, particularly when you raise the expectations of people.
That 5-0 start was Vanderbilt's best start since 1943. And here they are now on 3rd down, where they are 0 for 4 tonight on 3rd down conversions. Adams somehow eludes the rush, but not for long. Swarmed at the 33-yard line short of the first down. Special teams a big part of the storyline tonight for the Gators. That was their first block.
You're right, Mark. I mean, they've actually blocked 2 punts tonight, and they have been an excellent special teams football team under Urban Meyer. Not only do they block those punts, they are number 2 in the country in punt return yards. Brandon James averages 20.2. So it's only a matter of time until they put their return on.
Doing it in all phases so far tonight. Offense, defense, and special teams. And now once again, Brett Upson due to face a little bit of heat. They come right up the middle on him this time, and once again coming frighteningly close to blocking another one. It's down to the 23-yard line, where it'll be first down and 10 for Tim Tebow. A 38-yard punt, nothing on the return. This has been a first-half team all year. Not bad in the second half either. Back after this. Bob, I'm just a hip-hop kind of R&B type of guy.
Why would I think that?
I want you to know that, you know, I'm a chameleon. I can get into I'm all into the country music. Got a little Toby Keith.
I'm going to see how much you're into it.
Jeffrey Demps. Let's go back to Wendy in the studio. Wendy, country or rock and roll?
I love country music. I love Nashville. But how about a little primetime pulse? Keep you updated on what's going on around our family of networks. Over on ABC, Oklahoma State and Texas Tech, the Red Raiders on top by a touchdown. Boston College just scored 9-0 over Notre Dame in the height of that game on ESPN. Don't forget SportsCenter after that game. Mark, back to you.
You're telling me all about this country music, right? The CMA Awards are next week. Tell me the two hosting them. There's a male and a female hosting the CMAs.
I know they're on ABC on Tuesday, and a nice cut here. Here's Sweet Music by Moody. You like the way I got out of that?
Oh, that was sweet.
Moody brought down finally by Richard Langford.
You want me to answer that question for you?
Shelby.
Brad Paisley and Carrie Underwood.
24 yards by Moody on the play.
You know, Moody, a guy out of Dallas, Texas, goes to USC, started 4 games at USC. These coaches are really excited about him, as if they don't have enough weapons already on this Florida football team, huh?
First down and 10 after that run by Moody. Tebow dropped back to pass, has a man wide open at the 25, and it's incomplete, in and out of the arms of Carl Moore. And boy, he's probably saying, my bad. Sets up a second down and 10. You talk about the monument of efficiency offensively. 4 touchdowns on their first 4 drives of the game.
You know, they come into this game, you think about this, all these talented players, very, very well coached, though. They're #1 in the country in turnover margin. They're #1 in the SEC in pass efficiency. They're #1 in the nation in red zone offense. Talented guys and talented coaches.
Tebow, this time it's caught. Down to the 35-yard line. Percy Harvin makes the catch, and he gets the first down for the Gators, picking up 11 yards. You know, as a first-year player in the class of '06, Harvin was the first player in that class to get the black tape taken off of his helmet during practice. That tape is symbolic of players who are making an impact, and it says a lot about his effort and his talent that he was the first one to have it taken off.
Yeah, a lot of crossover guys, you know, wide receivers that are also running backs. They have a tight end that's like a wide receiver, and they have a quarterback that's like a linebacker. And here's Percy Harvin at quarterback now, right?
Taking the direct snap. Finding a nice seam. Don't sleep on Percy Harvin, still on his feet. Inside the 15-yard line, got a nice late block by the tight end Aaron Hernandez, and another Gator first down. He picked up 21 that time.
Yeah, you mentioned Aaron Hernandez out of Bristol, Connecticut, gets the block right there. But Percy Harvin, at 200 pounds, physical player, healthy. He's healthy.
And they're approaching that 10-touch mark that they wanted for him to get the maximum efficiency out of Percy Harvin. Ball at the 15, first down and 10. Harvin again. Boy, he really accelerates in a hurry. Down to the 7-yard line, picked up 7 yards. Look at Percy Harvin, Jeff Demps, Chris Rainey. That's 3/4 of the 4x1 Gator relay team that finished 3rd in the outdoor championship.
It'd be fun to just see those guys race.
Yeah.
I mean, just line up Demps, Rainey, and Harvin and watch them run. And, you know, they did the deal with Chris Rainey in the spring that raced the student body.
Right. There's a lot of speed to go around, and sometimes you're so fast you even run out of your own shoes. Second down and 3. 28-0, and the great news and views tonight of Memorial Stadium and downtown Nashville are being provided by Outback Steak Airship, the Bloomin' Onion 1. Captain Paul Hano is at the controls of the Bloomin' Onion 1. fan favorite every week on ABC, ESPN college football broadcast.
How about ABC back in Lubbock, Texas tonight? Brent Musburger, the first time in his career he's been at the same spot back-to-back weeks.
Harvin staying on his feet and all the way down to the 2-yard line. Actually, his forward progress at the 1.
Stop by number 30, Patrick Benoit.
Patrick Benoit making the stop.
The thing, too, with this Florida team, the development of their offensive line. I mean, their offensive line now comes off the football. Big, good-looking group of guys. And I think Steve Adazio, their offensive line coach, the best offensive line coach in the country. I think he is a great coach now.
First and goal. His guys doing a great job up front tonight.
There's Steve over there.
Harvin in the backfield beside Tebow. Harvin up top and stopped up short of the goal line by Chris Marvin. The ball is loose. And they're going to rule it Vanderbilt football. Ryan Hamilton recovering it.
Yeah, Chris Marv, the freshman linebacker, big lick on Percy Harvin. That's obviously reviewable.
Harvin's saying that he was down, but then you expect him to say that.
Let's watch right here.
He might have been down.
He's down. I think the ground caused that fumble right there.
Yeah, they're going to keep him. That's going to be Florida football. Although we've seen some strange reviews.
Let's take another look right here. I think he's down.
It didn't squirt out until much later.
Again, this Florida team with only 6 turnovers all year, which is really remarkable when you think of all the different things they do on offense, how many different guys touch the football, and you sprinkle in some option. I think they're going to stay at 6 turnovers. I don't think that will be ruled a turnover.
And remember, coming into this game, they had been in the red zone and only not scored once all season.
Yeah, the question may be, is that a touchdown? And is that the line right there? And that ball, the tip of that ball, it may not only be not a turnover, it may be a touchdown.
That's a great point. And you want to hear something from a reaction from the Vanderbilt Commodore crowd here.
Here's the end zone now. That's a touchdown.
He's over. He was actually over the goal line with the ball.
No question about that. That ball is across that line. Watch. That's a touchdown.
6. Boy, they're really taking a long look at this one. Percy Harvin does a great job, Bob, not only receiving but rushing. In fact, a year ago, he became the first Gator player to rush for 100 yards and catch for over 100 yards in the same game.
This could be the first non-Tebow touchdown of the evening.
5:46 to go here in the first half of play. Florida comes in 7-1, and a win tonight, remember, gives them the SEC East Division title.
And I'm going to say this right now. You start out the season when you're at Florida. National championships the goal. Heisman trophies the individual goal. I think both those things are very alive in Gainesville, Florida.
You know what I love about November? You really start saying some things. More than usual.
They remember November.
They remember November. One more look.
Yeah. That's a touchdown.
After review, the ruling on the field is confirmed. There was a fumble recovered by Vanderbilt in the end zone. 1st and 10 at the 20-yard line.
And they also said the ball was recovered in the end zone.
Wow. You can never be too sure when it comes to the replays.
Let's take a look all the way through. Now, first, I think that's a touchdown. That ball touched the goal line. Now, where's the ball recovered? Yeah, I can see maybe the ball was recovered in the end zone, but I think it was a fumble, but a great break for Vanderbilt.
They're saying that the Vanderbilt player was down, in the end zone when he finally scooped it up.
Yeah, it's where the ball was. Yeah. What a great break for Vandy. If there can be a great break when it's 28-0, but
that's only the second time all year Florida has not scored when they got in the red zone. First down and 10 coming back the other way. 5:46 to go in the first half. Adams on the toss. Hawkins gets to the edge, and a nice gain of about 8 on the play by Jared Hawkins, but there's a flag on the field.
Holding, number 68, offense. 10-yard penalty for the spot of foul. Repeat first down.
Let's take one more look at that fumble recovery.
Let's try to clean this recovery up. Now, when the recovering player is down, he's down right there. Where is that football? If the nose of that football breaks the plane coming out, just like it would be in a reverse scenario coming in, then the ball is on the field of play. So when he was down, did that ball cross the goal line coming out would be the question. I mean, it was very close.
Ryan Hamilton, meanwhile, recovering it for the Commodores. Adams keeps it himself on 1st and 18. And he's brought down almost immediately by Will Hill. He's 2nd and long, 2nd and 18 coming up for Vanderbilt. Still have not scored in this football game. Mackenzie Adams making his 3rd start of the season.
You know, Mark, Vandy has not scored more than 14 points in the last 3 games. So for them to have any chance, they have to have played flawless football. But they've already had 2 punts blocked, which they have no chance when your offense is as anemic as it is for Vanderbilt.
There's the dearth of scoring in the last 3 games. Hawkins with a nice move. Makes it out to the 20 and back to Wendy. Texas Tech, one of a couple unbeaten teams so far this year. 3rd and 10. Adams complete out to the 32-yard line to Jamie Graham, the 2-sport star. Played considerable minutes this past season on the Commodore basketball team. Picked up 12 there. You know I love those basketball players.
Well, I know you don't love this. Jamie Graham was a defensive specialist in basketball.
Oh, forget that.
Something you know nothing about.
Forget that
So
defensive
you have
stopper.
nothing in common with Jamie Graham, because all he does is play great defense. Doesn't care if he ever touches the ball.
He'll learn someday. It's about points. 1st and 10. Down, actually fell back to the 21-yard line. Carlos Dunlap there just to make sure. Well, with just 2 races left, Jimmy Johnson looks to hold off a hard-charging Carl Edwards in his quest for a 3rd straight Sprint Cup championship. The chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup continues at Phoenix Sunday on ABC. Coverage begins with NASCAR Countdown at 3 Eastern. You're part of the woods, Bob Davies.
How about Phoenix? Huh? Sunday and then Monday night.
A lot going on out there. Be on that couch watching the game, huh?
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm going to go that Monday night game.
2nd down and 20. Adams waited for his receiver to finally come open. Walker made a nice move to get out to the 33-yard line.
And this Wake Forest offensive line, I think, is the biggest issue with this football team. I'm sorry, Vanderbilt, because, you know, Wake Forest and Vanderbilt remind me of each other so much. But this young offensive line, you know, they lost 5 starters from last year. They've started 8 different guys, 7 for the first time. And, you know, Kelly Atkinson and I, our director, were out watching the walkthrough yesterday. And these guys look young. They're not only young, they look young. So a lot of development left to be done with this offensive line.
Still chasing that win number 6, which would make them bowl eligible. Trying to go to a bowl game for the first time since 1982. Adams with a lot of open real estate ahead of him, but as is the case with the Gators, they close that real estate gap quickly. Dustin Doe making the stop. Adams picks up 6. And it's 4th down coming up.
And you talk about sharks sensing blood in the water. Let's watch Florida on that last punt right there. Look at Carlos Dunlap right there, number 8. And then look at his reaction after he didn't block. So this guy, Carlos Dunlap, now at 6'6", 290. He is exactly what you want him to look like.
Bob, they call him Baby Freak or Freak Jr. after Javon Curse, who was the original Freak, named Freak because of his wonderful athletic skills, of course. Back to Wendy Nix in the studio.
Mark, thank you very much. Jesse Palmer with me at the half. Nick Saban tames the Tigers in his return to Baton Rouge. We'll show you how it all went down.
And Joe Pa's Penn State Nittany Lions undefeated no longer. We'll show you what happened up at Kinnick Stadium today at Iowa.
Plus, Palmer's Performers. Jesse will tell you who went above and beyond in Week 11. Mark?
All right, Wendy, and time to punt again for Brett Upson, his 5th of the night. They blocked 2 of them.
Well, you better block number 8 right now. Again, you see them move him over. Here he comes again.
And it bounces at the 25. It's going to be down at about the 20-yard line. Mark Jones along with Bob Davie here in Nashville at Vanderbilt Stadium. Give me your bold pick and what you see ahead for the Florida Gators.
I think Florida can win a national championship. I really do.
With the 1 loss?
I don't think there's any question.
And a conference championship game to come.
Yeah, they're going to get Alabama in the conference championship game. And what I've seen, I think Florida has more explosive weapons than Alabama. I mean, every time the ball's punted, they're either going to block it or Brandon James may return it. They have a bunch of weapons on offense. They're playing great defense. I think Florida is going to win the national championship this year before it's over. And I still think Tim Tebow can win the Heisman.
Well, his statistics tonight have been sparkling. He's passed for a couple of touchdowns, run for 1. That one batted down at the line of scrimmage. Now, when you look at Colt McCoy, Texas, you look at the Graham Harrell, you look at some of the quarterbacks in the Big 12, and Zach Robinson, you look at Tim Tebow. Is he right there with those guys?
There's no question in my mind. I mean, those guys, obviously, I mean, they throw for unbelievable yardage. I mean, they're in no-back shotgun throwing it every down. But Tim Tebow, to me, Tim Tebow is the best quarterback in college football. Because if they win the national championship, he's going to win the Heisman again now.
Yeah, there's got to be some kind of premium put on if your team wins the national championship, you think. This pass complete to number 16, Carl Moore, who dropped one a little bit earlier. A pickup of 9 on the play, and bad news for the Commodores as their starting quarterback, Mackenzie Adams, leaves the field.
Yeah, you know what? From Tulsa, Oklahoma, Tulsa Union High School. Really a good football school, Mackenzie Adams, but just getting overwhelmed tonight by the speed of this Florida defense.
3rd down and 1 coming up, and Chris Nixon is the backup quarterback. He was the starting quarterback for the first 6 games of the season.
Do you think this is Tebow time right now, 3rd and 1?
Usually is, and they'll use him on 4th down and short as well, although they'd like to have that one back against Mississippi that got away, and I hate to bring that up as Tebow gets the 1st down. There will always be, Bob Davies, some Gator fans that look back on that 4th and 1 against the Rebels at home in the swamp when Tebow didn't make the 1st down as really maybe the turning point of their season, although it hasn't killed them yet.
Yeah, I mean, but if they play in the SEC championship and win that game and go on to play the national championship, distant memory.
Approaching a minute to go. Tebow on the loose again. 235 pounds of Tim Tebow all the way into Commodore territory near the 40-yard line, but there's a flag all the way back at the 36 of Florida. Flag on the play. We talk about Tim Tebow. You know you're big when you become a clue on Jeopardy. And his value was $2,000.
Offense. 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. Replay 1st down.
Tebow leading the way through their schedule and healthy at this part of the season, which is big. They've won 4 games in a row after that loss.
Well, yeah. And you know what? Go through the wins. Blowout, blowout. Those are blowout wins against Georgia, Kentucky, LSU, Tennessee. You know, so 7 blowouts and 1 loss. That's pretty impressive. They're averaging 54.3 the last 3 games, and they've won by 40 points a game.
In the Southeast Conference, that's saying a lot. That pass almost high, but brought down and caught by Moore. Moore picked up 6 on the play. And they have been a great first half team, especially throughout the course of the season.
That's impressive. And you have to attribute that to coaching. I mean, there's been a lot of great teams that have come out early and stumbled in games. I mean, that's a sign of a focused football team that comes out of the gate hot.
Urban Meyer in his 4th year, a couple of seasons ago in 2006, they won the national championship. 2nd down and 9. Pass complete near the 1st down marker and out of bounds at the 44 to Lewis Murphy.
And we're going to get a roughing the passer penalty on Tim Fugger, number 42 as well. Tim's just a freshman.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, number 42, defense, drove the quarterback into the ground. 15-yard penalty from the end of the run, 1st down.
Just take a look at this.
Now, you know, Bob, there's a lot of that going around in football. Justin Tuck, albeit in the big league, the Sunday league in the NFL, fined for a hit, which was recently rescinded. They really protect quarterbacks.
I didn't like that call right there. I got to be honest.
They really protect quarterbacks. 1st down and 10. Little backside pressure on Tebow and brought down behind the line of scrimmage at the 41-yard line by Stephen Stone, the 6'5", 272-pound junior.
One thing Vanderbilt's done now, they're 9th in the country in sacks, came in with 25 sacks, averaging about 3 a game.
And Bobby Johnson calls a timeout. That was the 5th sack of the season for Stephen Stone. Actually, it was Florida that called timeout.
Yeah, you look at Bobby Johnson right there. He's won 2 games in the 6 years he's been at Vanderbilt in November. 2 games in November in 6 years. And you know, there's a lot of reasons for that. Number 1, you're into the meat of the Southeastern Conference schedule. Number 2, the depth of your football team is not what the depth at other SC schools are. And I think third, Mark, at a place like the academics, with the academics that Vanderbilt has, these kids get beat down. I mean, the academics are for real at Vanderbilt now.
And as we look at some of the key wins for them this year, this one against Auburn, when Auburn was ranked number 13 and Vandy was ranked number 19. That was part of their 5-game winning streak. The game you saw before that was against South Carolina when the Gamecocks were in the top 25. They were ranked number 24 at the time, and they got off to their best start since 1943, but that seems a distant memory right now. On 2nd down and 10, Tebow, given time, wide open, they turned him loose, and touchdown Gators. Number 83, David Nelson.
That just can't happen. I mean, Vanderbilt, a well-coached defense, but tonight they have broken down in coverage. But Tim Tebow staying in that pocket, had the presence not to take off and scramble, Mark. Right here, the tendency is just take off and run, but he stays in the pocket. Big David Nelson, 6'5", out of Wichita Falls, Texas.
The extra point good, and the beat goes on for the Gators. 35-0 leaders.
And it could be 42 on the fumble by Percy Harvin.
Tim Tebow piling up some very impressive statistics already here in the first half. Might want to think about getting himself a ticket to the Downtown Athletic Club. With 8 seconds to go in the first half, it's 35-0. Well, speaking of the Heisman Awards. This was the scene a season ago. He was the first college football player to both rush and pass for 20 touchdowns in a season, and was the first sophomore to win the Heisman Trophy. Chase Daniel, one of the other guys there who started off the season. Actually, about 6 weeks ago, Chase Daniel might have been the favorite, but not anymore.
Well, I've already said that's number 1 for me. That's number 2 for me. If I was in the NFL, that would be number 1 NFL guy. But I'm saying Tim Tebow. I've said it enough. Tim Tebow's my Heisman pick this year. And maybe, you know, I'm swayed because I know Urban Meyer and those coaches so well. Just the way they talk about him. I mean, Urban Meyer said he wishes he could take a Tim Tebow pill every day just to have his outlook that Tim Tebow has.
Well, they affectionately call him Vitamin T. He's trying to repeat as a Heisman winner. Archie Griffin did it in 74 and 75. Overall, Griffin rushed for 5,500 plus yards on 924 carries in his 4 seasons with the Buckeyes from 72 to 75. Then an NCAA record. He had over 6,500 all-purpose yards, 26 touchdowns, and if he would repeat, that'd be saying a lot for Tim Tebow. I just can't believe the fact that he drives around a 1995 green Ford T-Bird, wheels that mom and dad gave him when he was going into his senior year in high school. Right now, Chris Nixon in a quarterback for the Commodores. Nixon incomplete at the 17-yard line. That's the end of the first half of play. It has been all Gators doing a Gator stomp on the Commodores. 35-0 to the break right now. Let's welcome back to ESPN's College Football Primetime, presented by Kay Jewelers at Nashville, Tennessee, Vanderbilt Stadium, where the 42nd meeting between Vanderbilt and Florida has been all Florida. 35-0 as we get ready to start the third quarter play. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davie. Vanderbilt will kick off to begin the third quarter play. And Florida has done a wonderful job so far on special teams. Not so much in kickoff returns, but in the punting game, especially when Vanderbilt has punted. They've gotten a piece of 2 punts already, blocked a couple. Florida looking for his 18th consecutive win against Vanderbilt and its 8th win of the season against just 1 defeat.
Yeah, and that's impressive right there as you look at that graphic for Florida. Tim Tebow already with 5 touchdowns in this game. He had 5 last week against Georgia.
A short kickoff at the 20-yard line. That's James, Brendan James. And his forward progress going to be marked at the 31-yard line. Now with Florida having the ball right now to start the second half. Bob, with the polls and the voting, the BCS, we get into the issue of style points right now for the Gators. How much more do they need to prove it to the voters out there?
Well, I think you said it best a little bit ago. I mean, if the voters weren't impressed with that first half, I don't think it matters from this point on as far as that. I mean, the score is almost irrelevant what it ends up. To me, it's about getting ready for next week against South Carolina. Eventually, you're going to have to play probably Alabama in the Southeastern Conference game to impress the voters. So that's a non-issue to me.
This is Chris Rainey on the handoff, and Rainey gets a Gator first down on the first play of the second half. As we take a look at the top 5 in the BCS, Alabama narrowly defeating LSU today in overtime. Texas Tech leading against Oklahoma State. Penn State losing today against Iowa. And Florida right there at the
And I guess you know, if you're looking at it from that standpoint, obviously style points matter if Florida can jump over the top of Texas. Also, you have Oklahoma out there, a one-loss team that won impressively today.
Jeff Demps in the backfield. Tebow has a man on the post, and it's incomplete at the 1-yard line. That was Percy Harvin, who couldn't squeeze it. Defending on the play, number 14 there, Josh Allen. That almost appeared to go through his arms.
Yeah, really an excellent throw by Tim Tebow. And, you know, just looking ahead, it'll be interesting to see Tim Tebow at the next level in the NFL. What happens with him?
Where do you play him? I mean, at his size and his running ability.
I think you play him at quarterback. I mean, right there was a pretty good testament to the arm strength he has.
Talked about him changing his throwing motion, making it more efficient during the preseason with the help of the biomechanics department at the University of Florida. Certainly worked out. He's completing 64% of his passes. Chris Rainey getting a couple of yards out to the 45-yard line.
Let's take a look at this last throw again. Little pump fake. Again, you see Percy Harvin used in so many different ways. He's got an excellent release. I mean, that's a good-looking delivery.
3rd down and 7 coming up for the Gators. One that got away. On the play. It's ruled incomplete. Intended for Thompson.
Dayron Speed, young man back off of injury playing tonight, I think is going to get a pass interference.
Number 6, defense. The penalty is a 1st down at the spot of foul.
Well, you take a look at this pass chart, 11 for 16 tonight. Obviously, the big throw right there at the end of the half. Last week, 10 for 13 against Georgia for 154 yards. Number 1 in pass efficiency in the Southeastern Conference.
He's had a couple of drops in that 11 of 16 tonight, too. Keeps it himself this time. Tebow on the loose, getting a couple of blocks downfield. And Tim Tebow with another Florida 1st down to the 36-yard line. Allen making the stop, but not before Tim Tebow picked up 14 yards.
Very difficult scheme to defend. You know, that's the base bread and butter play in their offense right there. The zone read, quarterback to side play where he reads the defensive end. That's their base play.
A lot of different options on offense at Urban Meyer's disposal. And Tim Tebow actually grew up idolizing Danny Werfel.
Lined up at wide receiver right now.
Talked about them having different looks. This is Harvin. I don't think Bob Davie, he was looking to pass on that one.
No, I don't think so.
Brought down by Myron Lewis, but there's Tebow. Started to tell you how he grew up admiring and idolizing former quarterback Danny Werfel, who played for the Gators, and actually still has a church bulletin that Werfel signed for him when he was a kid. 2nd down and 8.
You know, as a freshman, benched 225, 28 times as a freshman, which is really remarkable. You know, that's the NFL test on the 225 bench. I mean, 28 times as a college freshman.
So his parents Bob and Pam there sitting and watching the game. This is Chris Rainey down to the 30-yard line. They have been all over the world with Tim Tebow. He was actually born in the Philippines. Spent time traveling to Thailand and Croatia during his spring break doing missionary work. You know, not many guys have the privilege, Bob, of being invited on stage to a Kenny Chesney concert in Gainesville.
Yeah,
and you doubted my country music knowledge.
Well, you know the thing about Tim Tebow, he's a legitimate celebrity, but that celebrity's not going to change him one bit.
He's a well-grounded young man on 3rd down and 4, hands it off. Some good straight-ahead power running by Moody.
He's got a little moo or boo chant coming out of these Gator fans here. But I think the great thing about Urban Meyer is how he tweaks his system for who the personnel is and gets the ball to the playmakers. But when Urban was at Utah, Alex Smith was the quarterback. They were really a throw-first spread team. Comes to Florida, Chris Leak. He has Chris Leak. They throw the ball a little more. Now it's Tim Tebow. It's basically a form of option football with Tim Tebow. So get a bunch of good players, then find a way to find a scheme to take advantage of it.
First down and 10. Tebow looking to pass into the end zone. Caught at the 1-yard line. Aaron Hernandez barely missed getting into the end zone. That's what he was thinking on his reaction. And it's first and goal after the 19-yard pickup.
Yeah, Aaron Hernandez right here, like a wide receiver playing tight end. I mean, he is a 4.5 40. Great corner route right there. Excellent hands from Bristol, Connecticut. His brother played at UConn. That's a great catch right there.
Well, being from Bristol, you know that he's driven by our ESPN compound at least once. Percy Harvin now.
Tebow again up here at wide receiver.
Harvin taking the snap. Stopped up short of the end zone.
He's strong.
And still fighting for extra yards. Percy Harvin, with all of his speed, can actually put a hat on you with his strength and move the pile a little bit.
And actually fumbled down here. Controversial fumble, in my opinion. I thought it was a touchdown earlier in the game. Tell you what, he might have reached that ball across the plane right there, but I think the whistle blew.
I'm not going to guess anymore. Not after that first one.
Yeah, Tebow again at wide receiver, clear at the top of the field, up there on the boundary.
Harvin going to take it again. Still no signal, and now touchdown. No doubt about that one for Percy Harvin.
And you know what it is? You're saving Tim Tebow. I mean, that's normally Tim Tebow's carries, but with a lot of big games coming up, good idea to get the ball in Percy Harvin's hands.
Well, Percy Harvin has far exceeded that 10-touch goal that they had for him in this game. And the score now 41-0 for Florida. That was his 5th rushing touchdown of the season.
The extra point is good.
And you know Steve Spurrier is sitting at home watching this game because he plays the Gators next week, saying, wow.
Welcome back to College Football Primetime, presented by Kay Jewelers. Florida leading 42-0. We've had our great aerial shots tonight, courtesy of our friends at Outback Steakhouse. Proud sponsor of the Outback Bowl. The Bloomin' Onion 1 airship is a fan favorite every week on ABC, ESPN college football broadcasts.
Hey, 757 Virginia. In the building, baby. Hey, baby, I throw that bird up.
Hey, it's not bragging when you're doing it. DJ Moore on the kickoff return for Vanderbilt. Moore with a nice kickoff return out to the 34-yard line. Let's see who comes out at quarterback for Vanderbilt, because Mackenzie Adams was shaken up before the end of the first half, and now we have a late flag thrown on the far side of the field. Moore looked like he was a little upset at something that happened on the sideline there. Nine and a half minutes to go here in the third quarter. And Bob, how much does Bobby Johnson, Vanderbilt's head coach, experiment maybe now with his personnel, looking forward, trying to get that win number 6? And we'll talk about that after this call.
After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, number 17 on the return team. 15-yard penalty, first down.
Marcus, let's watch right here. He gets kicked in the head right there by his own player. And he takes and throws that football down, which is a penalty in college football. Then he starts jawing. I mean, He got hit by his own player.
Yeah, that was friendly fire. He just wanted.
Now he's on that player. He just found the guy that did it. Look,
he just. Sometimes you just got to vent on somebody. You know, we've all been there at some point. First down and 10. Nixon in at quarterback. Nixon was the starter for Vandy for the first 6 games of the season. Keeps it himself. And Nixon with a nice gain out near the 25-yard line. Got about 6 on the play.
And right there you see what Chris Nixon is all about. I mean, he's their second leading rusher. 74 carries, 312 yards. Had a great season in 06. 2,000 yards passing, 694 yards rushing. Last year in 07, struggled. Had a shoulder injury. Now they moved him to the wide receiver. He makes one play, they move him to the wide receiver.
Jennings taking the direct snap. And it's a nice gain by Jamie Graham. And a first down for the Commodores. Picks up 9 on the play. Jamie Graham, the 2-sport star, played on the basketball team as well as here on the football team.
Jamie Graham really developing. Had 2 great touchdown catches against Georgia.
Kind of took offense to your comment in the first half
about
my defense.
No defense in basketball.
Once in a while I fooled him. Jeff Jennings now in the backfield behind Chris Nixon, who's back under the center. On first down and 10. Nice cutback by Jennings. Let's go to Wendy back in the studio.
Mark, thank you very much. It's a primetime pulse. Texas Tech looks like they're going to pull off beating number 1 last week, a number 11 team this week, number 9 Oklahoma State. It's 28-14 Texas Tech. And over on ESPN, Boston College in control over the Irish, 17-0, about 5.5 to go in the 3rd quarter.
A lot of programs are going to be coming after Mike Leach. You know, there's some great job openings out there right now. Be interesting to see what happens, but
it's that time of the year. Run by Jeff Jennings. Got about a yard on the play with just 2 races left. Jimmy Johnson looks to hold off a hard-charging Carl Edwards in his quest for a 3rd straight Sprint Cup championship. The chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup continuing at Phoenix Sunday on ABC. Coverage begins with NASCAR Countdown at 3 Eastern Time. Well, the mercury continues to plunge here in Nashville.
42-0. Drops that temperature a little bit. See, they don't look near as cold over there. See?
Funny how that works.
Oh, huh? I promise you that. A lot of Gator fans up here. Aaron Andrews is probably out somewhere watching this game, right?
Yeah. Gator alum. This is Jennings. And Jennings picks up a Commodore first down into Gator territory. You know, Bob, you talked about the time of the year when there's going to be some coaching turnover. Urban Meyer has a very talented coaching staff, and there are several jobs that obviously will come open. When you have that many talented coaches on your staff, people start looking at your staff for replacements.
There's no question. I mean, Charlie Strong, who's done a tremendous job with this defense. We look at Charlie right there. He was with me at Notre Dame. Also was with us at Texas A&M for a year. Certainly Dan Mullen, the offensive coordinator. And I think Steve Adazio. Steve Adazio, the assistant head coach, offensive line coach, all 3 of those guys.
This is Miller. And Miller gets a couple of yards. With 6:20 to go.
Tell you what, he'll go in there and bench 400 pounds right now. He is strong now.
Just like his name.
Exactly right. And you know, they lost a great coach, Greg Madison, who is a great defensive coach. We take a look at Dan Mullen, who was also with me at Notre Dame. Greg Madison left and went to the Baltimore Ravens. And that took a chunk away from their coaching staff. But Charlie Strong has done an outstanding job with this defense.
Defense that is pitching a shutout tonight. Jamie Graham now taking the direct snap. Graham bounces off a tackler, has a little open field, and close to a first down at the 36-yard line. We talked about coaches getting their respective resumes open. Philip Fulmer, we saw Tennessee last week. Immediately afterwards, they announced that he would not be back next year.
Tennessee losing to Wyoming today, but I mean, Tennessee is a great coaching job, as is Clemson. High expectations, which what comes with that is a lot of pressure. Washington, we had a couple weeks ago.
Right.
They are really down. I mean, that is a rebuilding job now.
First down and 10. Swing pass out of the backfield complete. That's Miller, and Miller picks up another Commodore first down.
Chris Nixon has provided a spark for this football team. Now, he's lined up at wide receiver as much as he's lined up at quarterback in this football game, but this was the guy that the Florida coaching staff was nervous about. They were nervous about Chris Nixon because 2 years ago he played extremely well against them in Gainesville. Well, I believe that was in Nashville.
Right. This is Vanderbilt's first foray into Florida territory on the night, with just under 5 minutes to go in the third quarter.
You know, Chris Nixon was Mr. Football in the state of Alabama in 03.
Yeah.
And he was valedictorian of his senior class.
Highly recruited coming to Vanderbilt and coming out of high school, period, down to the 17-yard line. That's Miller.
They told me a story about Chris Nixon yesterday. You know, he made his official visit here to Vanderbilt with Pat White, the quarterback from West Virginia, who's also from Alabama, and they were going to make Pat White a wide receiver. I don't know if that was a great decision.
Pat White chose the right place.
Well, I know. They shouldn't have said it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to maybe think we're going to make him a wide receiver. I'm not sure you should say it, but Chris Nixon ends up coming to Vandy, and Pat White goes to West Virginia.
All right, man, Vandy on the move a little bit here. Hawkins with a flag down. Hawkins got about 2 yards on the play. I bet this Florida defense, giving up just 11.6 points per game, doesn't want to blemish its record right now.
Offside, number 95, defense. 5-yard penalty from the previous spot results in a first down.
They want to keep that shutout on the board. Well, get your weekly dose of NFL news and analysis on ESPN Sunday at 11. Chris Berman and the crew on Sunday NFL Countdown, presented by IBM. Plus, the boys discuss the crazy AFC East. Also, look for the top rookie running backs. Chris Johnson and a couple others at 7. Meanwhile, Chris Berman, John Saunders delivering the highlights on SportsCenter.
You know, this Florida defense, not a senior on the defense.
Wow.
I mean, they're not only a good team, they're a young football team.
First down and 10 from the 12. Walker in motion. Nixon,
look out.
got a nice block inside the 10-yard line. What a good block that time, as Major Wright pushed him out of bounds. He ran about 30 and picked up 3.
You know, Chris Nixon last year hurt his shoulder. Then he lost his confidence when he came back. Re-injured the shoulder this year. You mentioned, you know, he started the first 6 games, I believe, this year. But so much of it is confidence. He had 166 yards rushing against Miami of Ohio, so he could flat run.
On second down and 7, 3-receiver formation, 11th play of the drive.
There's your
Nixon keeps it himself. And brought down inside the 5 at about the 2-yard line. And he took a hit, but looks like he got enough for the first down.
Brandon Antwine.
Looks like they're going to measure here. Not afraid to put his hat down.
Hayden right there. Good lick from the inside out, though, about 47.
Is Bobby Johnson just taking a look at the big picture now, Bob, and maybe finding out what he's got, looking forward to next week, Kentucky, a game we'll be doing in Lexington next week, and just looking to get something, trying to get win number 6 to become bowl eligible.
Yeah, he's just trying to right now execute. I mean, you look at Mackenzie Adams over there. I don't know what the injury situation is with him.
We were just told, Bob, that he has a slight hip pointer, questionable for the rest of the evening as to his return.
But I mean, to answer your question, I mean, you're just trying to make a first down. You're just trying to execute There is no big picture right now at all if you're Bobby Johnson. You just want to feel some kind of pulse from your football team. I mean, you're down 42-0 coming off an open date. Just get a pulse so I can go to Lexington next week and compete.
Kentucky, tough luck loser today at home against Georgia. What a finish in that game.
That was a great football game, wasn't it?
Randall Cobb, the freshman quarterback, did a nice job in trying to bring the Wildcats back at the end. Nixon keeps it himself. Looks like he got the first down. Just inside the 2-yard line, William Green making the stop for the Gators. And it's going to be first down and goal for the Commodores. This is their longest, most fruitful drive of the game. Red zone alert with Oklahoma State on the Texas Tech 10-yard line. But down big time against the Red Raiders. Hawkins, the deep back, dotting the I. And he stopped up, might have lost a yard on the play back at the 2-yard line.
Yeah, this offensive line for Vanderbilt. Again, I mentioned just how young they are. I don't think they're going to line up and just run that ball right at Florida. You look right there, 66, the right guard, Hensley, just gets blown up.
And is Florida a team that you can really scheme that much? I mean, you say you can't line up against them.
But I mean, Mark, I'm saying I think they need to get the ball out on the perimeter or some kind of play-action pass, even though it's only second down right now.
Second and goal. Nixon on the fade. Incomplete, intended for Graham. Graham got that vertical leap and couldn't come up with it, though. It'll be third down and goal coming up.
Bobby Johnson really has only coached at Furman and Vanderbilt, which are very similar. You know, Furman in the Southern Conference, but with high academics. Now he's here at Vanderbilt. Went to Clemson, played at Clemson, was a corner. Although he told us yesterday, no bump and run. They play all zone coverage. He played off.
Ball back, baby. Third and goal coming up. Hawkins, the lone back behind Nixon. They run the same play, same guy.
Oh, great.
Is it caught? No signal.
Oh, give it to him. It's 42.
Let's think about it.
That was
Jamie Graham.
Catch, huh?
Wow. We'll have to take another look at this.
That's a great catch. Now, you know it's going to be reviewed. Does he have possession? I don't know that he had possession, but I'm going to give it to him. Mark, it's 42-0.
They came back with the same play. And this play is being reviewed, as they all are, of that nature. We'll tell you the verdict on the other side. Welcome back, everyone, and a look at the Parthenon, the centerpiece of Centennial Park in Nashville on West End Avenue. The recreation of the 42-foot statue. Athena is the focus of the Parthenon.
Well, here's the play again. The question is, does he have control? It looked like the ball skimmed the ground, but it was ruled catch, and it was confirmed a catch and a touchdown for Jamie Graham.
Boy, Bob, it was a great show of resolve in the way that they came back and ran the exact same play.
Exactly. I didn't expect them to do that, but
16 plays on the drive, 81 yards, using 8:35 on the clock, and the Commodores are finally on the scoreboard on Jamie Graham's third touchdown catch of the season and of his career. But the Parthenon now serving as the city's museum of art. Back after this. Welcome back, everyone, to Vanderbilt Stadium here in Nashville. Florida leading 42-7. And look at one of the hotels that overlooks the stadium here. And what do you know? They're watching a little bit of football.
See if these guys are really... Well, they're not watching this game. They have Oklahoma State on.
How could they? That's treasonous.
They're looking out the window, but they have Oklahoma State on.
They can always, I guess they have the benefit of watching us and, well, watching us for real.
That's the hotel right across the street. That's where Vanderbilt's team stays the night before the game.
On the kickoff return, it's Brandon James going to work. And he's brought down to the 36. Wendy, update. See the difference with Wendy and Jesse Palmer back in the studio versus those guys in the hotel. The guys in the hotel have to order. They order room service. You know, Wendy and Jesse, they got to run over to that ESPN luxurious cafe that we've got on campus up there. New quarterback in. That's John Brantley for the Gators. We've got a red zone alert in that Texas Tech Oklahoma State game, the game we were just talking about. Red Raiders with the ball on the Oklahoma State 2-yard line.
Texas Tech with a well-deserved open date next week. Get ready for the Oklahoma Sooners. You can see on the TV in the background there at the Marriott.
Maybe Kelly Atkinson, our director, can just keep that picture on there, pull it back in a little box so we can figure out and see what's going on in that game too. Chris Rainey in the backfield beside Brantley, the new quarterback. He fires a dart complete to the 43-yard line to Carl Moore.
I think the thing that's helped Urban Meyer, you know, Florida State's been down a little bit. Miami has been in transition. Urban Meyer has taken that state by storm, coming in there recruiting. But the timing was right too. You live down in South Florida.
Yeah, they reach their tentacles, Urban Meyer and the Gators do, into all areas of the state. That's the end of the third quarter. We'll be back with the fourth right after this.
Keep the party into the AM.
42-7, the Gators leading as we get ready for the start of the fourth quarter. Florida trying to make it 18 straight wins against Vanderbilt and showing their appreciation for the Iowa victory over formerly undefeated Penn State earlier today. First down and 10. John Brantley has taken Tim Tebow's place at quarterback. He kept it himself and put it on the ground. And the Gators got it back. Phil Trotween, the right tackle, recovered it.
Let's take a look at these top three teams today. Alabama, LSU with a chance to win it with a chip shot field goal at the end. Texas Tech looks like they're going to win. Penn State loses to Iowa. So 1-3 in big test today, but Alabama was able to pull it out.
Texas Tech, next on their docket, they play Oklahoma, I believe.
After an open date, yeah.
Trying to remain undefeated.
You know, John Brantley in the game, a highly recruited quarterback, redshirted last year as a true freshman for Florida.
Blitzed off the edge, and they get to him all the way back to the 33-yard line at Myron Lewis. A junior, 6'3", 202 pounds, a guy that's had a lot of experience along the way, played a lot since his true freshman year. That's his 5th sack of the season.
Watch him just come off that corner again. Vanderbilt, a team that's very good at sacking the quarterback. But Brantley, you know, his dad, John, played quarterback at Florida. His uncle, Scott, was a linebacker for Florida. And his high school coach, Kerwin Bell, the former Florida quarterback. Yeah, so he's got some ties to Florida now.
Bell, you're talking about the days back in Galen Hall, aren't you?
That's exactly right.
Brantley completes that pass at the 37-yard line to Aaron Hernandez.
Now, is this Florida's first punt tonight?
They got a punter?
Yeah, this is the first punt.
Jazz Henry coming in.
And you know what? Urban told us this week, best punter in the country right here. Chaz Henry. They do a lot of different things with him, with all the rugby punts. And
he's like the Amana repairman. You don't see him that often. Averaging over 43 yards per punt on the season. Gets off a real moonshot. Wow. And it's fumbled back to the 17. Loose. the Commodores recover. A 46-yard punt, his first of the night for Chaz Henry. Back after this. Back here in Nashville with 12:35 to go in the fourth quarter of play. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davie on a chilly night here in Nashville, Tennessee at Vanderbilt Stadium, and the Gators have dominated tonight. An evening rife with opportunity for Florida, looking down the road. A win tonight and they would clinch the SEC's East Division. And right now a looming matchup against Alabama, who lead the West and remain undefeated after defeating LSU tonight. This is Jared Hawkins plowing ahead for a yard. Let's check in with Wendy Nix for SportsCenter right now.
It is, in fact, SportsCenter right now. Penn State undefeated no more. Iowa with the upset, the field goal in the last few seconds, 24-23. Penn State's national title hopes likely coming to a close. And Alabama, though, holds on. #1 Crimson Tide escapes with the overtime win at LSU, 27-21. Next SportsCenter coming to you on ESPN following BC and Notre Dame.
All right, Wendy, we'll be back at the hotel by then, catching that next edition of SportsCenter after this game. Hawkins on the loose. Upended, but not before he picked up the first down. Let's take one more look at that punt.
Show you a great block. Now, I think this is Tratto right here. I'm not 100% sure, but Justin Tratto. Watch this block right here by 94. Boom. That's a KO by Tratto right there. Now, that was a great block by the defensive end on the punt team. Out of New Jersey, actually committed to Notre Dame. Greg Madison went up there at the time and stole him away from Notre Dame.
Use that Bob Davie living room technique. The king of the living room. First down and 10. Hawkins out of the backfield. Boy, that is a form tackle. Well, with a bye week to prepare, Mike Singletary leads the San Francisco 49ers to battle and tries to right the ship against Kurt Warner, Larry Fitzgerald, and the Arizona Cardinals. Monday Night Football on ESPN at 8:30 Eastern Time. Coverage begins at 7 Eastern with Monday Night Countdown delivered by UPS. Florida defense still bringing it.
Got a couple Gators over there. Look, it's like a big Gator and a little Gator over there.
It's a nice tackle on the last play.
Brought the whole crew up here.
Brandon Hicks with a nice tackle on that last play. Second down and 11. A lot of blue and orange up there in the stands. Nixon throws it harmlessly out of bounds.
There's a head Gator, and then there's the co-Gator. See, that's the head Gator right there, the big one with the hat on. And this is the Gator in waiting right there.
Gator family. Is that the real Gator?
That's a female Gator. See, that's a female Gator, has the dress on. That's Alberta.
Number 87.
Is that the real
offense was
Gator
not at the end of the line of scrimmage.
Lee Corso puts on when he chooses Florida? That's not the real Gator head, though, is it?
I don't know about all that. That's Albert and Alberta.
That's about the only thing that they don't give you in the Florida Notes. Their sports information department does an exceptional job. A lot of nuggets of information about the players in the program.
That'll be in the notes now. Yeah. Now that they know we have keen interest in Albert and Alberta, that'll be
10:24 to go. Third down and long for Chris Nixon, who's taken over from Mackenzie Adams. Hawkins on a nice run. Man. And they are still bringing some heat, bringing some knock once again. Brandon Hicks, another good form tackle.
Brandon Hicks, a sophomore out of Jacksonville.
Red zone alert in the Oklahoma State-Texas Tech game. Oklahoma State threatening to score, but trailing 42-20.
Bad news, Carlos Dunlap is still on this punt block team right here, number 8.
He wants to get one tonight.
Oh! He bluffed the kicker, though.
Yeah. Dunlap ran into the punter, Brett Upson. That's going to be a first down for Vanderbilt. Upson took one for the team.
roughing the kicker, number 8, defense. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot, automatic first down.
No, Carlos.
You're trying to say you got a piece?
Football, but here's Carlos, big Carlos right here at 6'6", 250. Great little move right there. Bad angle, though. You know, you have to come at the correct angle. Once you're off that angle, don't try to block it, because only bad things can happen.
He has both blocked punts that they've had tonight. I guess when you're leading 42-7 and dominating a game, you got to find little things as a coach to put on the videotape to critique. That was almost picked off. Number 49, Jermaine Cunningham.
Well, what happens if you're South Carolina right now? I mentioned Steve Spurrier watching this game. You're sitting there right now thinking about Carlos Dunlap coming after that punter. And then you're still thinking Brandon James is back there returning.
2nd down and 10 coming up.
You know, South Carolina, I think, a much improved football team. Legitimately good on defense. They beat Arkansas today. It's going to be a good game in Gainesville next week now. Particularly with Garcia at quarterback.
Particularly with Steve Spurrier returning to Gainesville. 9:33 to go, and nice move by Nixon. Getting loose a little bit, and a first down to the 35-yard line. Chris Nixon. Look at Florida's remaining schedule.
South Carolina, that's going to be a good football game at Florida State. Florida State won today over Clemson, and you might as well pencil in Alabama in the Southeastern Conference Championship. But boy, this Florida team right now, in my opinion, the best team in the country, top to bottom.
Okay. Now,
I mean, just factor in the kicking game, Mark. Every time the ball is kicked, whether it's returns, whether it's blocking kicks or covering kicks, maybe the hidden advantage for Florida.
Nixon on the toss, fumbled and still loose. And the Gators appear to have recovered it. Actually, Jennings got it back. You talk about Florida a moment ago, Bob. Alabama has already clinched a spot by winning the West Division in the SEC. They've clinched a spot in the SEC title game against the Florida Gators. You know, if they played today, you think then Florida wins that game?
I do. But here's the difference. Everybody wants a playoff in college football. Okay, let's say that Alabama, Florida was the first round of the playoffs. It's already penciled in. Alabama's going to the championship. Florida's going. Now, does that mean Urban, if there was a playoff, should rest his players the next 2 weeks? Not play to win, but play to keep from getting guys hurt because I'm in the playoffs. I don't think that's good for college football, is it?
Creates a little more urgency.
Yeah, I mean, next week's a huge game, as is Florida State, even though he's in the playoffs, so to speak.
Good point. Nixon that time brought down by Brandon Hicks.
Do you have Brock's phone number? I get Barack Obama on the phone right now.
We got a friend in him.
Counterpoint, right? Yeah, you
try to get that playoff going.
It's over. Florida wins tonight. They are in the Southeastern Conference. We have Vanderbilt, Kentucky next week, which is a game for which team, you know, Kentucky eligible for the bowl right now at 6 wins, but last year South Carolina didn't go at 6-6. So Vandy, Kentucky, big game next week.
Looking forward to that trip to Lexington. Look at that talented quarterback, Randall Cobb. Nixon complete over the middle to George Smith, one of the great comeback stories in all of college football. George Smith out of Pembroke Pines, Florida. Look at the SEC standings in the West. Alabama still undefeated.
You talk about coaching jobs. Tell you what, right there, Alabama, who we had in the Independence Bowl at the end of the year against Colorado. Who would have ever thought that Alabama right now would be 10-0? Certainly I didn't.
Big improvement, like you said, from when we saw them at the end of last season. A 17-yard pickup by George Smith.
You know, Chris Nixon, good time for him. You know, the game was out of reach. Gaining some confidence right here.
This time he hands it off to Gaston Miller, who stays on his feet, spins off a couple of tacklers and got about 4 on the play. You know, I'd start talking about number 88, George Smith, who caught that last pass. There he is, a young man that's fought back from a lot of adversity in his life. He's from Pembroke Pines, Florida. It's right around the Fort Lauderdale, Miami area. You know, it was just a little over a year ago, 2 years ago actually, that he fought a rare neurological disorder which actually had him on life support at one point. He beat that, came back, and is back on the football field. 2nd down and 5. Nixon on the move and falls forward, gains about 2 yards. Lorenzo Edwards tripped him up.
Back to George Smith. Let me give you a little nugget about George. Senior year prom. Took his mom to the prom. Took his mom to the prom senior year. And he had other choices. Yeah. He had other options.
Oh, he's a football star. He's all county.
Exactly right. Good
he's all county in Brownie County.
He didn't have to take his mom, is my point.
Sometimes mom's the one that's really true to you.
That didn't make as big an impact on you as I thought. You know, I have no reaction out of you at all.
I'm trying to absorb that. You know, I'm trying to get my mind around that for a little bit. Into the end zone, and incomplete, intended for Brandon Barden, the team's second leading receiver.
You know, the pressure on this Vanderbilt team, as we mentioned, Mark, last year lost their last 4 games after being 5-3. Now they're 5-3. They're going to lose tonight to Florida. They go to Kentucky. They have Tennessee at home, I believe, and then they play Wake Forest. Getting that number 6 is not an easy task for Bobby Johnson.
Well, I ask you, Bob, what do you do at your quarterback spot for next week?
It's Chris Nixon to me, all the way. It's going to be
Nixon?
All the way.
Adams questionable to return to this game with a slight hit point. Andy 0 for 3 on 4th down so far this year. Into the end zone.
Great catch.
Caught. Touchdown by Walker. Sean Walker comes up hobbling, but makes a great catch for a touchdown.
Well, Sean Walker is going to line up in the slot right here as the inside receiver right here. Had 6 catches against Duke last week, an underthrown ball right there.
That's his 3rd touchdown of the season, the 8th of his career.
Yeah, Moses Jenkins, the corner, a sophomore, never looked back to that football.
Chris Nixon has made a strong case to be the starter next week in Lexington as Vandy goes for win number 6 in a game you'll see.
That even looked better from the blimp.
It did. See, the truth is, Bob Davey, you don't know that. You've never seen me get my little country western boogie on. Back when you were at Texas A&M as the defensive coordinator, I tore up Hurricane Harry's down there at Lumpy spot. Give you a little do-si-do.
You better be careful, because Sarah is listening back home in South Florida.
I'm a friend of college football, and, you know, part of that includes showing a little versatility when it comes to dancing. From the West Coast to the East Coast.
Good to see Vanderbilt come back here and have some success offensively in the second half.
Nixon went 6 for 11 on that last drive.
You have to go back to that roughing the punter penalty on Bunting.
Demp's on the return. Demp's still on his feet and finally hauled down at the 40-yard line. And we're going to take another short break in the country music capital of the world.
That's the way you're supposed to dress in Nashville, Tennessee.
Is that right, Bob?
That's the real deal right there.
You know, sometimes they say all hat, no cattle. Today, Florida, all hat, all cattle. They backed it up. Moody stopped up, and we go back to Wendy in the studio. Wendy Hits.
Mark, thank you very much. West Virginia trying to protect their spot atop the Big East, hosting Cincinnati. West Virginia, a 52-yard field goal courtesy of Pat McAfee. They go crazy because that forces overtime. So here we go, though. But then it's all Cincinnati. Tony Pike, Kazim Ali. That is the deal breaker. Cincinnati pulling off the upset, 26-23 in overtime.
Bill Stewart at Morgantown will feel some heat. And Brian Kelly at Cincinnati has done an outstanding
Sure
job.
has. We saw them last year. Well, let's take a look at tonight's AutoZone playbook.
Yeah, it seems like a long time ago that Tim Tebow was in this football game. Starts it off with the touchdown pass to Murphy. Then you see the run for the touchdown. 5 touchdowns in the first half of this football game.
Thrown it 12 times. Thrown it 17 times, completing 12 for 171 yards and 3 touchdowns. Just another day at the office. You know, Bob, you talk about his Heisman candidacy now. The fact that Florida is blowing out, obliterating so many of its opponents, his statistics subsequently are a lot less and maybe less impressive than they otherwise would be.
Yeah, I mean, no question about that, Mark. I mean, the battle he's going to have is statistically compared to a Graham Harrell, but the cumulative effect of having won the Heisman last year, I think going to end up on the national championship team this year. He's my pick.
Had a personal foul call a few moments ago against a Gator player.
Urban's going to have something to talk about tomorrow because they have played a little sloppy here in the second half. They've had some big penalties.
And this is picked off by DJ Moore.
That's a block in the back right there.
Well, they keep throwing flags down on the field.
Well, a block in the back by Myron Lewis right there. But you look at Urban, who is the backup quarterback at Florida? That's his biggest concern right now.
That's the 4th interception of the season for Moore. And the 14th of the year for Vanderbilt.
Cameron Newton, they actually thought would be able to be kind of a 2-quarterback system this year. They were going to use Cameron Newton for some quarterback run packages like they did with Tim Tebow when he was younger. But he didn't come through for him. And now Brantley's struggling.
Newton was actually injured a little bit earlier this week. Here's the call.
There are 2 fouls. After the interception, illegal block in the back, number 5, Vanderbilt. That penalty is enforced 10 yards from the spot of foul. After the play, personal foul, number 76, Florida. That penalty is enforced 15 yards from the succeeding spot. First down.
Yeah, we're going to see this ball right now. Brantley just throws it out there. Obviously some miscommunication. Here's the block in the back right there. And there's the late hit right there. So getting pretty sloppy right now.
It's going to be first down and 10 for Vanderbilt at about the 16-yard line.
I'm not sure it was on Marcus Gilbert. I think it maybe was on 66, not 76. Although Urban Meyer doesn't want to hear that right now.
Hey, Chris Nixon is just trying to move this team down the field again and working with a shorter field this time. He's done a pretty nice job since taking over here in the second half. 6 of 11 passing for 52 yards. A couple of touchdowns. There's a designed quarterback run and steps out of bounds, and we go back to work. All right, thanks a lot, Wendy. There was a lot of animus and vitriol going into that game on the part of the LSU fans, still feeling shunned when Saban left them. Miller down to the 10-yard line, got about 3 on the play.
I think that's the difference. You know, you take a Steve Spurrier going back to Gainesville next week. That'll be a totally different atmosphere than Nick Saban going back to LSU. Of course, Steve Spurrier won the Heisman at Florida.
Right.
Left under different circumstances, although he did go to the NFL, and he's now coaching for a team that's a rival of Florida, similar to Nick Saban, but totally different atmosphere.
Interesting to note that. 2:40 to go. 3rd down and 4. Nixon into the end zone and incomplete. Intended for Udo Umo.
Chris Nixon's pass intended for number 23, Udo Umo.
2:28 to go.
Yeah, they're going to go for it. A little bit surprising they didn't run a quarterback draw or something there on 3rd down, knowing they were going to go for it on 4th down. Trust me, every one of these points matter. If you're over there in Florida coaching the defense, you don't want to see Vanderbilt walk out here with 21 points.
Yeah, it's a defense that gives up only 11.6 points per game so far on the season. We're going to talk it over, so will we. In just a moment, we'll be back. Welcome back, everyone, to Nashville.
Like this Cadillac Ranch, this used to be the NASCAR Cafe, but now it's Rock Country Barn Grill. They have a mechanical bull upstairs.
There's our limo ride Bob and I are taking back to the hotel after the game.
Yeah. That's about as close as I'll get to riding a horse. We had a donkey pulling up there.
4th down and 4. Nixon into the end zone and incomplete. The Gators will take over. Good pressure up front coming from Carlos Dunlop. Maybe atoning for that roughing the punter infraction he had a little bit earlier in the half.
That face says it all right there, doesn't it? Bobby Johnson trying to get this football team now on a 4-game losing streak to go up and play a good Kentucky team. That quarterback is an athletic quarterback.
And Randall Cobb, freshman, did a nice job today trying to bring them back down the stretch especially. And hey, you go back to Bobby Johnson, his team started off 5-0 this season, the best start since 1943. But the question begs now, how do they solve this 4-game slide? Got to get to win number 6 to become bowl eligible. Low snap for Brantley. And a flag down.
I'll tell you what, if we put that camera on Urban Meyer right now, you'd have a hard time saying this was a coach who was up 42-14.
Before the snap, ball start on the offense, 5-yard penalty, 1st down.
He's simmering right now. That's a slow boil, right?
Yeah, he can't believe what's happening right here.
They're going to back it up all the way to the 5. Now, you had a good point a moment ago, Bob. You asked who is the backup quarterback for Florida.
I think there's obviously some concerns there.
Brantley hands it off to Rainey, and Rainey picks up about 5. Well, get your weekly dose of NFL news and analysis on ESPN Sunday, 1st at 11. Chris Berman and the crew with Sunday NFL Countdown presented by IBM. Plus, the boys discuss the crazy AFC East. Also, a look at the top rookie running backs, including Chris Johnson at 7, Chris Berman, John Saunders, highlights and scores on SportsCenter. What did you see in Urban Meyer when you hired him on your staff at Notre Dame that would make him, or what was the potential you saw in him, Bob?
Competitive and really smart and a hard worker.
Moody on the run.
And Urban was a guy who had no interest in special teams at all. He's one of those guys who sit in the back and draw pass patterns. You know, he was a wide receiver coach. I put him in charge of special teams in 1998. Even though he'd never done it, just because I wanted his personality on those special teams. I mean, the bottom line, he's a difference maker guy. He makes a difference, whether it's in recruiting, whatever he touches, because he has such a aggressive, competitive personality.
Did he fight you on coaching the special teams thing, or what?
No, I mean, he. I don't think he loved it, but no, he understood it.
Yeah.
You know, he.
3rd down and 7. This is Moody.
Interesting, if Vanderbilt calls timeout right here, as Urban did when he called 2 timeouts at the end of the Georgia game last week.
He said he wanted to get his backup quarterback some more snaps.
Oh, you bought that hook, line, and sinker.
Hey, that's what he said.
No, he didn't. He didn't have to say anything. That was all about the Georgia celebration the year before.
It now becomes history as they atoned for that defeat by defeating Georgia last week. And good in the respect for the Gators in that Coach Meyer got his team, you know, sometimes after a big emotional win, they were looking forward to that Georgia game. They come back, were convincing, and to get back up again for Vanderbilt this week, they handled their business well.
That's a great point. I mean, you think about that atmosphere in Jacksonville last week and the atmosphere here tonight, which is totally different. You come in here, you play a night game, a game everyone expects you to play, to win. They came out totally focused, which to me is a sign of a mature football team and a sign of a well-coached football team.
He talks about their leadership being much better than it was a season ago, and that sense of entitlement that some of the players had is gone now.
Yeah, he said last year he had 3 leaders on his football team. This year he feels like he has 15 or 16 guys, and he really likes this team. And by that, I mean he just likes being around them every day. He likes their work ethic, and I think they are in prime position to win the national championship this year.
Florida's going to improve to 8-1 overall and 6-1 in conference play. The only blemish on their schedule, that loss against Ole Miss. But if they get all the way to the SEC championship game against Alabama without losing another game, then they certainly would be in a good position to compete for the national championship. Nixon brought down by William Green. And this is bad news for other SEC teams. This is a very young Florida team. 60 of 85 scholarship players are either freshmen or sophomores.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, obviously, you factor in redshirt freshmen, which gives you a freshman, a redshirt freshman, and a sophomore class. But, I mean, that's still an amazing stat. No senior starters on defense.
Nixon completes it down to the 34-yard line. That's number 23, Umo.
Pushed out of bounds by number 14.
6 seconds to go, and they can squeeze off another play.
One more play right now. I tell you, Bobby Johnson wanted a roughing the passer penalty right there.
First and 10. No doubt this one will go into the end zone, or at least close to it. Florida's got 2 guys standing back on this end zone line. Flag down on the play.
Well, it's going to come back anyhow because of a false start by Vanderbilt. They weren't set.
With 1 second to go.
Illegal shift on the offense. 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. Still first down.
Push it back to the 33. Well, next week for Bobby Johnson and Vanderbilt, it's a game in Lexington against the Kentucky Wildcats. Going to try and get win number 6 and become bowl eligible. After that, they'll take on Tennessee, who's still on their schedule. And that's it. Game's over. Vandy falls to 5-4. Florida improves to 8-1 and is primed and ready for a run at the national championship. Final score once again 42-14 for the Gators. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Bob and the entire crew, I'm Mark Jones saying so long from Nashville. Right now, Wofford's own Wendy Nix in our ESPN studio. Wendy?